Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to World Health News. Today, I'm going to actually share a very important episode with you. It's the World Humanitarian Day episode where I want you to meet real-life heroes. So the World Humanitarian Day 2020, I want to celebrate and provide a tribute to all the aid workers on the front lines, specifically Mehmet Güllüoğlu, the head of AFAD, which is helping around the world many weak indigenous people who are going through trials and tribulations, earthquakes, wars, and also for many. And I want to highlight the World Humanitarian Day.
If this were a story, it would start with a hero, someone with a great destiny, who saves the day. This isn't a story. There are no quests, no monsters, no surprise twist at the end. It's real life, a complicated world where ordinary people do the saving. Where heroes are made, not with costumes or magical abilities, but by being human. Stepping up to help, time after time after time, with grit and compassion, without any superpowers at all, because they're not the heroes of some fictional world. They're the real-life heroes of ours. And this World Humanitarian Day, we thank each and every one of them.
In 2008, the United Nations General Assembly designated 19 August as the World Humanitarian Day to raise awareness about humanitarian assistance worldwide and to pay tribute to the people who risk their lives to provide it. World Humanitarian Day was commemorated for the first time on 19 August 2009. We are right now, ladies and gentlemen, in a global pandemic, and the unprecedented needs and growing insecurity, aid workers and healthcare responders are staying and delivering to the world's most vulnerable people. Last year was the most violent on record for humanitarians, with 483 attacked, 125 killed, 234 wounded, and 124 kidnapped. The United Nations condemns all attacks on humanitarians. And OCHA and partners present inspiring stories of humanitarian, real-life heroes who are stepping up to meet the challenges. So the World Humanitarian Day, the world honors all humanitarians, many working in their own communities, who are going to extraordinary lengths in extraordinary times to help women, men, and children whose lives are upended by crisis and the global COVID-19 pandemic. The dedication, perseverance, and self-sacrifice of these real-life heroes represent the best of humanity as they respond to the COVID-19 crisis and the massive increase in humanitarian needs as it has triggered. First responders are often people in need themselves, refugees, members of civil society organizations, and local health workers. They bring food, shelter, healthcare, protection, and hope to others in between the conflict, displacement, and disaster and disease. But humanitarian workers are being tested like never before, struggling with unprecedented movement restrictions and insufficient resources as needs are outpacing funds. And all too often, they risk their own lives to save the lives of others. In recent weeks alone, despicable attacks have killed aid workers in Niger, Cameroon, and since the onset of the pandemic, scores of health workers have come under attack across the world. According to the Humanitarian Outcomes Aid Workers Security Database, major attacks against humanitarians last year surpassed all previous years on record. A total of 483 relief workers were attacked, 125 killed, 234 wounded, and 124 kidnapped in 277 separate incidents. This is an 18% increase in the number of victims compared to 2018. So this is the 11th World Humanitarian Day designated by the UN General Assembly. It falls on the day of the attack on the UN compound in Baghdad on 19 August 2003, which claimed the lives of 22 people, including the Secretary General's Special Representative for Iraq, Sergio Vieira de Mello. Since then, nearly 5,000 humanitarians have been killed, wounded, or abducted, and the 2010 to 2019 decade experienced a 117% increase in attacks compared to 2000 to 2009. A surge in attacks against health workers was recorded in 2019, including strikes against medics in Syria, Palestine, and shootings of Ebola workers in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. Most of the attacks occurred in Syria, followed by South Sudan, DRC, Afghanistan, Palestine, and the Central African Republic. Mali and Yemen both saw a doubling of major attacks from the previous year. The UN condemns these attacks and it calls for accountability for perpetrators and justice for survivors. Relief workers cannot be targets. Mark Lowcock, the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, said, "To humanitarian workers everywhere doing important, courageous work on the front lines, we say thank you. You are saving lives every day. And as new challenges and crises are piling onto existing ones, your perseverance is an inspiration. Your protection is also paramount to making sure we can deliver to people most in need. The best way to pay tribute to humanitarian workers is by funding their work and ensuring their safety." So this year's World Humanitarian Day comes as the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic. To pay tribute to the efforts of humanitarians, OCHA and its partners present the personal stories of some of the real-life heroes who are stepping up to meet the challenges, particularly local humanitarian workers. They include refugees who as health workers are playing essential roles in the pandemic response, Ebola health workers who are stepping in the fight of COVID-19, and doctors and nurses who continue to provide critical health care to women and children. I want you to go and check the worldhumanitarianday.org and read the inspiring stories. I want to highlight a couple names, like Dr. Mary Rosalind Balazier, who is an epidemiologist, is no stranger to fighting epidemics under harrowing conditions. As a field coordinator with the World Health Organization, she helped to lead the Ebola response in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Amid a series of violent attacks, she led her team to build trust for the response within communities. She worked with motorcycle drivers, women associations, driver associations, travel associations, you name it. So this year, WHO sent Mary to Central African Republic to help set up the COVID-19 response. Here in the Central African Republic, there is a health crisis in the middle of a protracted humanitarian crisis, she explains. We have to build a health system while dealing with an emergency, which makes it very complicated. As doctors, we have committed ourselves to saving lives. This is what we do. We cannot leave people to die. Another example is Umrah Omar. Umrah, from Kenya's Lamu archipelago, is the founder of Safari Doctors, a mobile doctor unit that provides free basic medical care every month to hundreds of people in more than 17 villages in Lamu. Modern healthcare is modeled on urban realities, but 70% of Kenya's population lives in remote areas. While in Lamu, during a visit from New York in 2014, Umrah became aware of a mobile medical project that had become defunct because of terrorist attacks. She explains, "I had to figure out how to raise $400 to $500 a month so that we could pay the salary of a nurse and the fuel for the motorbike, because the medicines are available. The vaccines are available, and the reproductive health and family planning. So it's like if the meds are available, then that's the easy part. Or to just have somebody who would go around. I did that for a whole year." 2 years later, the project became Safari Doctors, which delivers primary medical care and health education by boat, air, and land to Bajuni and Awer communities in Lamu. That year, Umrah was named a CNN hero for her work. She says, "I think humanitarian work needs to stop being by the way thing. It should be something that we are living as the norm." Hassan Akkad. Hassan Akkad fled the war in Syria 4 years ago. He was rescued from the agency as he was making his way to Europe in 2015 and found safety in the United Kingdom. He is an award-winning filmmaker and humanitarian activist who was keen to give back to his community during the COVID-19 outbreak. I did an internet search and saw my local hospital, Red Cross, was looking for cleaners, he says. Hassan started volunteering there as a cleaner. It felt like a direct way that I could contribute to the well-being of my fellow Londoners. It's where I would go myself if I got ill or my partner or the family is on my road. It was my honor to contribute in some small way. Hassan says his work was about much more than cleaning. He explains, when cleaning, you see people in the ward every day. Lots of them become friends over the period they were in hospital. I would greet them every morning. We would chat about the day, do what's possible to make them feel comfortable. It's what I hope someone would do for my loved ones in the same situation. Dr. Debirna Devi Lumanau. Whenever a natural disaster hits Indonesia, you'll often find 28-year-old Debirna helping affected people, she says. Seeing with my own eyes what happens during a disaster, being able to help those in need with all my power, also failing to do so, has taught me so much about life. Debirna returned to Indonesia from the United States, where she was a research scholar in emergency medicine, to work for Indonesia's search and rescue team, INASER. She did medical outreach on remote islands and was a first responder during a tumultuous period involving earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, and landslides. During those times, Debirna often found herself as the sole woman on her team. She loves it. When she's able to make a personal connection with people, she still visits a street food merchant who she cared for during Indonesia's Mount Merapi eruption, who fondly remembers Debirna as the kid doctor. She now lives and works in Jakarta's COVID-19 response center. She says, when I go to work, I wear my PPE, personal protection equipment, as my life depends on it. Sometimes I work 8 hours at a time with no break to eat, drink, or do anything else. But no matter where life leads me, I learn that whatever I will be, I must have courage. Shadi Muhammad Ali. Shadi Muhammad Ali, a refugee from Gaza, now works for the International Rescue Committee, raising awareness among his fellow asylum seekers about how to protect themselves from COVID-19. At the Moria refugee camp in Greece, he teaches fellow refugees how to wash their hands, wear face masks, and social distance to combat the spread of COVID-19. On every step of his journey, Shadi faced obstacles such as leaving his job as civil engineer, separating from his family back home, and learning French and Greek. As a refugee himself, Shadi can relate to the challenges facing others in the camp. His resilience has helped him make an impact on the refugees he serves. Shadi says, I like to be a problem solver. I'm an engineer, so I enjoy thinking of solutions and ideas. But what I enjoy the most is the effect of my job. I appreciate that I work in the humanitarian sector. You can see the direct impact of your work in the eyes of the refugees when they are happy. A simple word can mean a lot for a refugee. That has kept me motivated. Sonia Al-Masad. Sonia worked with International Organization for Migration for a decade before joining OCHA Syria in 2016. She organized interagency aid convoys, which involved access negotiations with the Syrian government, armed groups, and aid agencies to enter hard-to-reach and besieged areas. Sonia and her unit received 2018 OCHA Annual Award of Excellence for organizing aid convoys to Rukban, a process involving complex negotiations with non-state armed groups at great personal risk. In April 2019, Sonia joined OCHA Yemen and went on to coordinate the COVID-19 response when the pandemic hit. She also launched an emergency response to flooding that displaced families. As only woman in the field teams, she lived in harsh conditions with limited access and high levels of insecurity. Being the only woman negotiating access and being a leader in these circumstances is very unusual here, and it is a very moving experience, she said. I used to make a joke with the Yemenis. There was a Yemeni queen, Queen Arwa, who reigned for 50 years. We should be used to women in charge. Now I see our colleagues changing their attitudes. Even in their personal lives, they now say, we talk about you to our daughters and wives. Dr. Edna Patricia Gomez. Edna is a gynecologist who works for the International Rescue Committee in Cucuta, Colombia. Today, she helps their other Venezuelans in Colombia with screening and treatment for the coronavirus. She also continues to provide women's health services, including critical prenatal care for expectant mothers. Medicine is the best, she says, of her profession. It's hopeful, it's positive. I don't think there is anything more perfect than the moment of creation of life, of birth, of delivering a baby, and seeing the look of satisfaction on its mother's face. I think the most gratifying part of my work is knowing that I'm helping fellow Venezuelans who have not had the same luck as me, says Edna. She believes that in order to overcome COVID-19, the world must come together. This means leveraging the skills and knowledge that affected people can contribute to the response. Rizvi Hassan. Rizvi is a Bangladeshi architect. As a student, He was inspired by architects like Eric Cizal, known as architecture's first responder, and the homegrown sustainability advocate Khondagar Hasibul Kabir to make a difference in the lives of marginalized people. I was especially motivated by Kabir, who lived in a slum for a few years because he wanted to understand their actual needs better rather than design something based on issues perceived from outside, a second or third source of information that can misinterpret the needs. Rizvi collaborated with the NGO BRAC and the UN Children Fund, UNICEF, to create a beautiful and sustainable community center and a safe space for women and girls living in a refugee camp for Rohingyas in Bangladesh to access counseling and training. Rizvi says, I wanted to make an impact on the lives of marginalized people, so I love doing this work. Tanya Akhtar. Tanya chose to be a midwife because of a desire to serve others. She has a firm belief that her profession can help reduce maternal deaths. She works for Upazila Health Complex, which delivers the Bangladesh government's primary healthcare services in rural areas. 2016 was a turning point in Tanya's career. She was chosen to represent midwifery in Bangladesh at the Women Deliver 2016 conference in Copenhagen, Denmark, supported by the UN's population agency, UNFPA, and the Bangladesh Midwifery Society. The same year, she was deployed to provide antenatal services at a rural health facility in Kutubdia, an island off the Bangladesh coast, as part of UNFPA-funded Cyclone Response Project. Tanya gained the community's trust as many more women lined up to avail her services. Since then, Tanya has helped fleeing mothers from Rohingya community at the beginning of the crisis in 2017. She also helped the community at another remote island, Bola, where she worked to reduce maternal and child mortality rates and managed complicated cases during deliveries. Tanya dreams of elevating midwifery as an independent profession in Bangladesh. Ismail. Ismail came to Italy in 2009 from Benin, where he had studied economics and social science. He began fruit picking to get by, but in 2010, riots broke out in the south of the country, sparked by the shooting of 2 migrants. Ismail and other migrants were evacuated from the region and taken to a migrant center where he met the future founder of Barikama, meaning resilience in the Malian language of Bambara, which is a food cooperative founded by African immigrants. Ismail joined the cooperative in 2014 during the COVID-19 lockdown. Barikama members decided to help people, including older people, by delivering food packages. We were scared too, but we could not imagine letting people down, he says. Ismail works 16-hour days, but he is motivated to do this work because of the ability to be independent and make a decent living while empowering others to follow the same path. Agus Haryono. As a child, Agus dreamed of becoming a soldier. He still gets to save lives as the Deputy Director of Search and Rescue Operations at Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency, Basarnas. Living and growing up in a disaster-prone country like Indonesia obviously makes me aware of the importance of disaster management methods to reduce loss of life, he says. August and his team has been involved in scores of rescue missions. I'm a 47-year-old rescuer. It might sound too old to be a rescuer, but it doesn't matter to be a humanitarian worker, as long as you have a strong spirit to give the best service to other people who are in need of assistance, particularly those lives are in imminent danger.
Share an incredible journey. Share new friends. Share a miraculous status. Share something that needs to be stopped. Share something that should never stop. Share humanity. This August 19th, donate your social feed to share stories that matter. Visit worldhumanitarianday.org.
Tens of millions of people face life-threatening humanitarian crises. Lives ravaged by war, natural disasters, and a hopeless cycle of violence. Millions left destitute by an earthquake, a brutal conflict where the choice is either to flee or be killed. Children left with little hope for a future, too long exposed to a climate of violence and fear. Yet, every day, extraordinary things can happen when ordinary people, like you and me, decide to take action. It is this shared humanity that binds us together. In an age that is more digitally connected than ever, we have an opportunity to act together as global citizens, to stand up for a more humane world, to demand a better world. This World Humanitarian Day, use your social media to inspire the world's humanity. Sign up to the Share Humanity campaign and help give a voice to the voiceless. Together, we can make a difference and inspire change.
Have you ever faced an impossible choice? Like having to choose between medicine or food for your family. Deciding which road to school is least likely to be bombed. Or which one of your children to give the only life vest to. Millions of people are faced with impossible choices like these every day. We're in the midst of one of the greatest humanitarian crises of our lifetime. We are witnessing human suffering unlike any we've seen before. Every day, we receive more news, more facts. Millions are counting on us.
عايزين نعيش عيشة كريمة، يعني احنا بدنا نعيش عيشة كريمة، بدنا يعملوا لنا الإعمار.
ugashaka kubandanya twiga tukabaho ubuzima bwiza nta ngorane dufise ataka kuvuga ngo ndafise ko kiranyiruka inyuma nico twashaka
ကျွန်တော်နဲ့ကျွန်တော်မိသားစုဒီစခန်းမှာနေရတာကျွန်တော်ဒီရှိုးခံရလို့ပါကျွန်တော်ဖြစ်ရှင်တာကတော့ကျွန်တော်အိမ်ကိုကျွန်တော်ပြန်ကျင်ပါတယ်
أهم شيء عندي بالحياة أني عائلتي ابني وزوجي نريد نعيش مكان آمن.
Together, this is our chance to act and put humanity first. We all have a role to play. Let us commit to resolve conflict through dialogue and reconciliation, rather than violence and revenge. To end hunger for those in need. To secure civilian safety from bombs and landmines. To ensure displaced children receive an education. And that the most vulnerable in crisis receive care. This is our shared humanity. We are one humanity. Now is the time to take action.
We're going to go in.
Hello everyone.
To me, being a humanitarian, it gives me a lot of joy. I can give my all. That is me inwardly. That is how I grew up, and that is how I was taught. Help your neighbor who is in need. I have brothers, I have sisters who are refugees. Where? They'll say, where? I will say, Syria. Syria. Are you from Syria? I say, no, I'm from Nigeria, but every refugee, I see them like my brothers and sisters who need help.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to hashtag Meet Real Life Heroes and also review the Meet Real Life Heroes websites at United Nations. This is your host, Dr. Selim Slay, physician, entrepreneur, and venture architect. I want to thank you, all the healthcare workers and all the first responders, from the bottom of my heart on behalf of Ntr TV. Take care and all the best. Bye.